Hello and welcome to the Utah Hockey Podcast. I'm Michael Wolf, and I'm here with my co-host Cole Bagley. We are also joined by Chris Armstrong, a native of Vancouver, McGill University graduate, and became the youngest individual to make the National Post list of the top 25 most influential people in Canadian golf in 2009. Also named to the 40 Under 40 honoree by the Sports Business Journal in 2021, and the president of hockey operations for the Utah Mammoth. Chris, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys. Great to be with you.
Yeah. Super exciting kind of stretch to this season. I think probably the thing that is being talked about the most, especially with the winning streak that we were just on over the last little bit, Tusky the Mammoth.
Tusky has been an overwhelmingly huge hit. It's been exciting to see it. Yeah.
Can you tell us how shortly the creation and the creative process that went into, the luckiest mascot in the NHL as of this season, right? I mean, he was 7-0, now he's 7-1, but that's still pretty good.
I always say a mascot's going to be successul if you win your first 7 games. So, that
was part of the plan.
That was part of the plan.
That's something that Chris tells everyone.
But no, full credit to our marketing and design team. They went through quite an extensive process, a lot of different machinations and ideas of bringing. We knew we wanted it to be a mammoth, and so how do you bring that to life? There's a lot to work with there, and I think the team did a good job. And like we did with the branding process, we had a lot of collaboration internally and a lot of different ideas and really good conversations about it. And I think the team landed in an unbelievable place. And it's always aimed at the kids, right? You're trying to hit a home run for the kids. And so when the adults like it as much as they have, then that's like an awesome surprise.
My 5-year-old wants to know, when will the dolls be available?
The Tusky dolls?
Tusky dolls. When will they
I know they're in development. I don't know
Okay.
when they arrive, but we can make sure you get the inside track on that.
I think
the benefits of this job continue.
Is that we'll know when the stuffed Tuskies are going to be there. I get a feeling that's probably going to be the most popular thing in this shop once it drops. So it's exciting to hear it's coming.
I think so. I think if the players don't each have one in their locker, they're going to be upset.
Especially the amount of families on this team.
For sure.
Got to make sure you take care of your people, and then us. Yeah. So, another very popular topic right now, of course it would be, you just signed Logan Cooley to nearly the next decade. What can you tell us about that process? What kind of, because I know it's been, Bill Armstrong described it as really tough negotiations, and why wouldn't they be, right? The cap is increasing. What kind of put that over the top? What got it done?
Sure, and I've been on the other side of those conversations, so I understand, and I think the Bartletts, Logan's representation, Scott and Brian and Steve Bartlett did a great job representing their client, and I would expect as much, and it was a very healthy process, lengthy at times, maybe longer than maybe some of you would have liked or hoped, I think. But it was important that both sides felt good about making that type of commitment to one another. And it was very important to us to have, especially with Dylan making the 8-year commitment last year, It was very important to us that we had the 8-year commitment from Logan. And that takes time for everyone to trust in the vision, the long-term plan, what we're doing here. And full credit to Bill and our assistant general manager David Ludwig as well, and Ryan. Was very involved in an extremely helpful way, articulating his vision and building that trust that we were all going forward with this together, and that it was going to be a good outcome for everybody. And it was talked about. We had a meeting before we left for the 4-game trip at Delta Center with Ryan, myself, Bill, and Logan and his representatives on the phone. And it was just a really good, healthy conversation going through, we knew we wanted to be married, but there were certain things going into that marriage that we all needed to be on the same page about it. And I think that will set the foundation for an awesome partnership.
Well, now you got him to buy the house, as Ryan put it.
Exactly.
Read a very interesting article that came, I think, either today or yesterday from ESPN, kind of highlighting the process you're talking about. And I just wanted to kind of ask, I don't know if there's any more details on that surrounding how Ryan really helped in this process, but as well, obviously, as the governor and the primary owner and everything he's doing, from building the training facility to renovating Delta Center, is very influential. But how has he played a significant role in getting these young guys to sign long term, like Cooley, like Gunther, like Peterka?
Yeah, I think one of Ryan's many strengths is how relatable and inspiring he is. And I think if you're Logan, you're 21 years old, you're probably making, by all accounts, the most important, significant decision in your life. And Ryan has made those kinds of decisions in his life. And I think he articulates those experiences and the learnings and that journey extremely well and in a relatable way. And I think it was helpful for Logan to hear that Ryan's been in those same places and had to make those decisions, and things worked out well. And I think in addition to their investment for everything that we're doing and what it means for this state, as a leadership example, you couldn't ask for anything more than that. And then the resources that they've continued to invest in the teams and the fan experience at Delta Center, it's very inspiring and easy to get behind.
Have you ever seen, you obviously were on the other side of contract negotiations and whatnot, representing players and such. Have you ever seen an owner like this before? Just go completely all in, no expense spared, doing everything he can to support this team towards becoming a championship organization?
I think no two owners are the same. I'm biased because Ryan and I have known each other a long time, and I know him as a friend in addition to now working for him. And so I think this is more about Ryan than it is anything else, and the person that Ryan is, and Ashley and their family from top to bottom. It's just who they are. And Ryan does what he says he's going to do. He sets his sight on something and he goes for it. And once it's in his head that it's achievable, he goes for it. And I think that's a lot. That speaks to a lot of what we've seen so far, is that he believes in what Ryan and Ashley believe in what they're doing. And failure is not an option.
Yeah. Chris, last year, I want to say it was about a year ago that the jerseys dropped and the first Utah Hockey Club jerseys were available to the public. I attended that event. I got a jersey, and then I wandered into the stadium to watch the practice that was happening on the ice. It was morning skate. Don't get me in trouble, but I definitely wandered over to a side of the stadium I was not allowed to be. And I saw you standing there alone. I was like, I feel like I want to go say hi to Chris Armstrong because I think that's cool. And I wasn't necessarily allowed to be there, but it was an accident, I promise. But what has it been like to watch? I remember just parts of our conversation talking about fans' excitement. You were very personable and just kind of asking me about being a hockey fan in Utah. What has it been like watching the fan base and watching Utah become kind of a hockey state, and watching this fan base go from nobody knew that it existed to now kind of on the map?
Especially in 18 months.
Yeah, 18 months.
Look, I think it's beyond our wildest imagination. Our thesis in trying to bring an NHL team to Utah in the first place was that there was an underlying hockey market here, that there was a market in waiting, that there was a fan base in waiting, that hockey was already popular here, that the climate, this is a state well known for its winter sports legacy, Olympics in 2002, Olympics again in 34, and that with the right vision and the right people, hockey could be successful here. And certainly, the complementary schedule to the Jazz and the shared building and all those other things from a business standpoint were maybe a little bit more obvious from a synergy standpoint. Yeah. But it was really the belief in the people here, and Ryan and Ashley's continued belief, and as they've said publicly many times, that people show up in Utah to support their teams.
Yeah. Is there? Go ahead.
No. And so, I mean, could we have ever imagined that we would feel the amount of excitement and the pride for having NHL hockey in Utah that we've experienced at this point? No way. It's been overwhelming in the best way possible, and we've got a lot of work to do to continue to cultivate that and reach new fans, reach the entirety of the state, and invest everyone in what we're doing here. I think we've just scratched the surface, and there's a lot of work to be done.
Is there any specific aspect of that has surprised you the most, whether it's the the amount of people purchasing Mammoth gear, right? Because according to some of the numbers that I've seen, like a bad night for the Mammoth is like a record night for the Jazz, right? Like people are just so hungry for that apparel. Or is it the number of season ticket holders, or what have you? The
number of hockey related podcasts in the state. No, I'm just kidding.
Like, is there any aspect that you just kind of sit back and go, "This is unbelievable"?
Yeah.
I think all of it. It presents itself in different ways, but I think the most impactful way is the interactions in the community. I was at City Creek the other day and listening to a podcast, doing my morning walk, and a couple stopped me. I had a Mammoth logo on my jacket, and they said, "Are you involved with the team?" And I stopped and had a conversation with them. They weren't hockey fans. They're before we arrived, and they're just learning the game, but they make an appointment every night to watch our games together at home with their kids, and they're learning the game together. And I'm like, this is awesome, because we're in a state where family values are at the core of everything, and you've got these large families, and I'm thinking to myself, like, what an awesome opportunity at bonding in the family experience, because I'm going to be a bit tangential here, but when you talk about, there's usually an expert in the household when it comes to sport, and that expert usually influences the rest of the household as to what sport everybody starts to follow or watch on a regular cadence. But I feel like our coming to Utah, bringing NHL hockey to Utah, has kind of given the household a neutral territory where there's no expert, so everybody's learning it together on equal footing, teaching it to each other, and finding different things that they're passionate about or they identify with. And I think like that's awesome in the context of family in this state. That's awesome that those families are being able to enjoy this together.
Yeah, I love it, and it's been fun. Just as a dad, I have a young son. My dad raised me and indoctrinated me into being hockey obsessed as a young child. So it's kind of fun to be in the position of a parent doing that for a child, and doing it with an organization that I'm close to. Like I was a 2-week drive away from the team that I was rooting for as a kid, growing up in Alaska, but here I get to be 8 minutes from the stadium and experiencing the incredible things you guys are doing. So kind of one last question, something that a lot of fans have been excited for, especially college football season happening now. We're all outside in stadiums. Has there been any development on with the league and with the Utah Mammoth on bringing an outdoor game to the state of Utah?
Yeah, I mean, we're in regular conversations. I think everybody wants to see that happen in the future. On what time frame? There's a lot of different variables there. But as we talked about earlier in the conversation, when Ryan has something in his mind, it's going to happen. So it's not a matter of if; it's a matter of when.
I'm going to slide 2 more questions in there. Jeff, you'll have to forgive me for that. Fan experience this year has obviously been elevated. You guys have got a legitimate goal horn in the building, Tusky, and new videos, intros. You've got the cave that the guys skate up from.
I love that goal horn video, by the way. That was so cool.
Awesome.
The behind the scenes of the goal horn.
Sorry, just to give you a quick story on that point. It's funny because Collenberg, who built the horn for us, as they have for 30 of the 32 teams in the league, we're the first team that's invested that much time and effort and energy, and certainly
they're like, why are you here?
The first ones that ever came to Two Rivers, Wisconsin, to demo it and make sure it's exactly what we wanted. So they were just as excited as we were, because like usually somebody calls them and says, we want the number 5, or we want the number 2, and
like they're ordering fast food,
drop ship with installation instructions, and it's done. And so it's like 6 generations, I think, now of family business, and the youngest generation is running it day to day, and he's obsessed. He's like in his late 20s, early 30s, and he's obsessed with goal horns, because this has been the family business, right? And how cool is it to have this many stadiums and arenas throughout North America? But this is the first time they got to get into the trenches and actually design something. And
that's awesome.
They showed us, like, they have a soundproof room where they like test these things to make sure the fidelity of the sound is perfect, and none of us had the guts to go in there and listen to it in that environment. But it was cool to see their passion for it, and that we everything we've tried to do has been with like a process and with thoughtfulness behind it. And so to see them be as excited as we were to make this thing together that we knew was going to be one of one and nobody else had it, was pretty cool.
How does it differentiate from like other goal horns? Because I know you talked a little bit about it.
Yeah, so it's got 4 notes. So most horns in the league, in the buildings that they've made horns for, are 3 notes or 2 notes. So 2 horns or 3
Imagine only having a 2 or 3 note goal horn.
Yeah.
What a bunch of losers.
So, but I'll tell you a little bit of fun. Like I nerded out on this too, and because like obviously growing up in the game, but we went through this exhaustive process, just like we did with the goal song, frankly, of seeing what's worked across the league, both in the present day and historically, and testing out different things, wanting our own, but liking elements of others. And so when I won't tell you exactly how we arrived at the note that we created, but when people say, oh, it sounds like this horn, or it sounds like this horn, or it sounds like this horn, we're like, yes, yes to all of them, because we took a lot of elements.
It's those horns harmonizing.
Yeah, we tried to find like something that was a fuller, more complete sound than anything that existed, but that was comparable to things that we liked.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Are there any other kind of new fan experiences that you're really excited about, or certain things that you are hoping that fans notice?
I think the ice cave turned out better than we could have expected, and that's a tough target to hit as well, because it's a big structure.
Right.
You're propelling it from the ceiling. You want it to look imposing and real, but not like cheesy, right? And so I'm really thrilled with how the team executed on that, and credit to our director of game presentation, Chris Lepakura, who really drove that process. And I think, amongst the ice caves or the player tunnel entrances in the league, it's right up there.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So.
Every piece of it. Okay, last one, and I just really want to get kind of your perspective. This team's playing pretty good hockey right now.
Yeah.
I think they're tied for the second most points in the NHL, go on a 7-game win streak, beat teams like Winnipeg and Colorado. And what are you seeing? Like, what are we watching?
I see a team that's coming together. I think the 2 early road trips helped us in ways that started to show up more in the second trip than necessarily in the first trip. But I think having that early opportunity in the season to bond and to come together was important. But at the same time, we kind of look at the schedule in these 10-game increments, and the league gets better every 10 games. And so we also have to get better each of those 10-game segments, so that and that continues right through the playoffs, right till the last game of the Stanley Cup final. Everybody continues to get better until the best team prevails. And so that's kind of how we look at it. You're obviously always thrilled to get off to a good start and to try to carry that momentum. We're excited to be home on Sunday. We got a really tough road trip after that with 2 back-to-backs, and then we play a fair number of games at home in November, which we need to take advantage of, and certainly our building gives us that home advantage with the energy and excitement in our building, and we need to take advantage of that. So excited about the start. I see a lot of good signs, but it's so early that we need to stay with our nose to the grindstone.
Sure.
Yeah, I will say the fans are chomping at the bit for a home game. It feels like it's been ages. So, and then they give us a matinee on Sunday, and then we go back on the road for like it's 2 weeks, and the only home game we get is matinee on Sunday. It's just the nature of NHL scheduling. Sometimes it can be kind of weird.
It can be weird, and it's where teams are coming from and going to next.
Totally.
And in our case, it actually helps us because we'll fly to Buffalo after the game. So we'll be able to go through a full routine on Monday.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
And acclimate to the change to the Eastern time zone, and hopefully be in a good spot for those back-to-back games on Tuesday and Wednesday. So
yeah, we're super excited. Chris, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And get us where you get your podcast, KSL Sports YouTube page mainly if you want to watch us. If you want to see Chris, he's got a fresh haircut. And we are just so grateful that he's in studio with us. Also catch us on Apple and Spotify and anywhere you get your podcasts. Thank you for listening. See you next week.
I feel like we buried the elephant in the room, though. I'm sitting in Kelly's chair. It's the worst trade in NHL history.
It is. Yeah, no, we miss her. So thank you for bringing that up, because I'm going to leave this in.
It's staying in.
That's got to stay in.
Yeah, we'll see you next week, Chris.
Well, Chris will be here next week.
And then before I get cut. See you guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.